With an MC that's about to make the room go... Right, okay, some basic APB shit that isn't told. Probably the most important one out of all of the info I'm going to give you. This crosshair. Do you know what this crosshair means? Most people don't. In fact, let's open it up to the chat. What does this crosshair indicate? What does this crosshair indicate, chat? Well, Delta VK, you have been removed from the class because you're too stupid to live. If you had a blood test, you'd fail it. Boxo TV, Marks, well done. A star. You get a star. There was an attempt. Yes, this is your accuracy at 10 meters. This is basically where where your shots are going to go off center at 10 meters. So if there was a target in front of you, 10 meters away, try and get 10 meters here. About there. So in theory, when I shoot, all of those shots should be roughly within that crosshair at 10 meters. That's not the max weapon bloom. That is the standing accuracy at 10 meters. You've also got crouching accuracy. There is a crouching modifier that will affect the gun's accuracy. Crouching is more accurate. Why 10 meters? I don't know. That's how fucking G1 did it. Or RTW did it. I don't know why they did it this way, but they did. Crouching has an effect on your accuracy. So does movement. It comes in 2 stages. It's difficult to see on this gun, but take it from me. You've got a moving in accuracy when you're walking, where it's slightly faster than walking will make your accuracy slightly worse. And then there's a full running inaccuracy multiplier as well. There's also a sprinting inaccuracy multiplier, but you can't see it because obviously your crosshair goes blank. So if you shoot immediately from sprinting, that first shot could be really, really inaccurate, and it's what catches people out sometimes. So it is advised, just before you shoot, let go of sprint. It's really quick, but just let go of sprint just before you start shooting, and that first shot will return to running inaccuracy. Or if you stop completely, just after sprinting, you'll get the standing at 10 meters accuracy. You also have marksmanship mode. Marksmanship mode also has its own values, including a marksmanship multiplier, as you can see here. And it also has the movement penalty while on the move, as you can see. If you could sprint, if you could run in this mode, it would be even more inaccurate, because, like I said, it's a 2-stage inaccuracy. Now, another thing that most people know about is leaning, but leaning's kind of super important in this game. Why? Because it adjusts how your hitbox is. Now, interestingly enough, if you're doing this in a fight and you're shooting like this while in the open, you're actually making yourself easier to hit. Why? Because if you can imagine it, the hitbox of a character is a cylinder around their body. Everybody's cylinder is the same height, no matter what height you set your character, and no matter how fat you make them. The cylinder is always the same. So yes, you could have an enemy crouching behind cover that you can't see, but if your crosshair goes red, it means you can hit their hitbox. So you can shoot them behind cover even if you can't see them. The main one is, don't do this when you're in the middle of a fight in the open. If you do this in the middle of a fight when you're open, you are actually making your hitbox larger and thus making yourself easier to kill. Yes, it's a common thing I do, and it's a mistake. You want to be standing and shooting when doing this, because your hitbox is as small as it can be. Doing that extends the hitbox laterally, and it will make you larger and an easier target to hit. And that includes underneath your character. Like, if you can imagine, the hitbox even goes down from the side of his shoulder all the way down. So even though you're shooting like between his shoulder and his leg, you can still kind of hit him outside of where his leg is. Now, crouching has 2 stages of hitbox. You've got the crouching hitbox when you're completely still, which is as small as it can be, and will help you stay under cover. If you start moving, that hitbox actually raises in height slightly as you're moving to represent your character slightly elevating himself while on the move. So when you move, the hitbox gets slightly larger and people can shoot you behind cover potentially. So, for example, this is a bad example, but let's assume that while I'm crouching, I'm perfectly behind this bollard. As soon as I start moving like this, even if I'm just doing this, the hitbox gets larger or higher, and people can shoot me behind it. So don't do that. There were images showing the hitboxes back in the day on the forums. They've been lost. Quental posted them. And this was an update that they actually added to the game where the hitbox changes depending on if you're moving or not. Something they did back in 2013, I think. Penguin Sentinel, welcome to the Kempington Inc. shareholders. Thank you very much indeed for your contribution. Do appreciate it a lot. A spot of tea is in order. Goes to the magnificent individual who just subscribed. Thank you so much indeed. More general info about the game. Obviously, every gun has its own individual weapon stats. You've got, obviously, its accuracy, its rate of fire, its damage per shot, its marksmanship mode accuracy, etc, 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 etc. Reload speed, mag size, yada yada yada. Now, the thing that the game doesn't really give you good info on is these stats.
Hello, Jokeramo.
So you've got this, bars that indicate what the weapon does. These are horrendously inaccurate. Don't even bother trying to read these and go, oh, this gun doesn't do a lot of damage but has good rate of fire. No, it fucking doesn't. That's terrible rate of fire. Don't even kid yourself. Honestly, your best bet is to go to apbdb.com. That's apbdb.com. And you can look up the names of the weapons and you will get the accurate numerical stats of each weapon. Every weapon in this game has an effective range. This is the range at which the gun does its full weapon damage within that range. After that, you've got a minimum damage range where the gun will do the minimum amount of damage. Now, this is usually 30% of its total weapon damage. So let's say you've got a gun that does 100 damage per shot. At the minimum damage range and beyond, the gun will only hit for 30 damage. However, between the minimum damage range and the effective range is the damage drop-off. Now, this used to be a linear line that just went down straight, so you knew at a certain range you'd only do a certain amount of damage. However, to make the game more complicated, they added a curves system. What this is it basically uses a quadratic formula to add a slight unique curve to different weapons. You can look this up on the database and it will give you a rough idea. It's not perfectly accurate because it's difficult to actually plot it, but essentially some weapons may drop off slower initially and then faster towards the minimum damage range. Some weapons may drop off sharper at the start, but then curve off more evenly towards the end to give you more consistent damage throughout that range, even though it's a lower average overall. This was for balancing reasons, don't worry about it. Every gun's maximum range is 100 meters. That is the maximum view range of any character that you can see. So if you're standing here, you can shoot someone up to 100 meters away. The player character will start disappearing between 96 to 100 meters, but you will still be able to hit them because the crosshair will still be red. Anything beyond that, you can't shoot them. The exception to this rule are explosive weapons like the OPGL, half-bricks, 8-balls, the Osmore, and the AAEPD, which have rockets which are actual projectiles in the game. Every other weapon is hit scan. The projectiles have a longer travel distance, so you can hit people outside of 100 meters and do the full damage. Explosive weapons don't have a damage fall off either, other than damage from the epicenter of the explosion outwards. So you don't have to worry about at what range you hit them. There is an exception to that rule as well, which is the AAEPD, but we won't go into that for this lesson because that's getting really specific. Grenades. Now, grenades is the big one because nobody knows how to throw a fucking grenade. And this one is going to be the most important lesson for quite a lot of you, even though some of you probably already know this. Grenades, well, let's start off. Grenades, the standard ones, like the concussion grenade and the fragmentation grenade, which is the one that you start with, have a 4-second fuse timer. You can cook it by holding the button, and it will go off. You can throw it immediately, and it will go off eventually. The grenade fuse timer starts the moment your character equips the grenade. Now, grenades are affected by movement. Grenades are affected by movement. If you're walking forward and you throw the grenade will fly further. If you run backwards while throwing the grenade will fly shorter. You can use this to your advantage because of the arc that the grenade is thrown in. In some situations, doing what's it known in basketball? Like a fadeaway shot. If you do a fadeaway shot with a grenade, you can get a much loopier throw on the grenade without it having travelled as far horizontally, which means you can potentially get people at high enough angles without it going too far. Now, this isn't the most important bit of information, but it may help you. If you aim roughly at about a 50-degree angle, roughly 50 degrees, jump and throw the grenade, you can throw a frag grenade and a concussion grenade up to 60 meters away. If you throw it instantly, it should explode by the time it lands, roughly speaking. It may bounce once, but you will get it directly on target, if assuming your target is at the same level as you. If it's above you, obviously it will probably not reach. If it's below you, it's going to go further. But you need to be moving forward, looking up, and jump and throw the grenade. Some people can do this while sprint jumping and throwing the nade, but it's not as effective. Also, my favourite one. If you want to throw a grenade more directly at someone... I'm going to try and show this off. This is a little bit harder. You've got animation cancel as well. Yeah, you can cancel throwing a grenade by swapping weapons. You can also cancel it mid-animation. Like so. You can also cancel the end of the animation as well to get back to a weapon and start sprinting. So it can actually help you get out of dodge quickly if you're just quickly trying to throw a nade and go. But you can also animation cancel to throw people off. You can throw grenades backwards too. I can't remember what button it is to look behind. Oh, okay, yeah. So check this out. Hold your grenade, hold the button to look behind you. You throw the grenade behind you. Right, now the cool one. So if you want to throw a grenade more directly rather than looped, if you throw it, look up slightly. If you look up slightly and then throw it as you're falling down, it's a much more direct angle. Whereas if I throw it while jumping upwards, it goes upwards. This is how grenades are affected by momentum. But yeah, you can essentially, and I do this with bricks sometimes, you can just look up and then throw, and you get a much more straight arc with the grenade. Grenades damage is affected by the radius. Obviously, in the center of the explosion, you will do maximum damage, and as you go away from the center, the damage decreases. The grenades will also have a different range or radius for their explosion. Frag grenades having the largest, concussions having the smallest, low yields having somewhere in between. And bricks technically having the smallest radius ever of 0.5 centimeters, I believe. Jump and look more down, yeah. You can also dunk if you do that, yeah. You can also bunny hop nades as well. That's more difficult. You basically have to jump on the frame you land. But you can do that as well. To keep speed so you're not... Because you can't sprint while holding a grenade, but you can if you bunny hop. But it's kind of difficult because you have to land on the frame. I can't do it very well. I remember back in the day when if you did this while sprinting and jumping, your character would actually look like they're sprinting in midair and do this. It looked really cool. And then you throw it like that as well. I can't do it. I'm very bad at this. You get the idea, though. It's a lot to take in, and this VOD will be saved, so I'll keep it. Don't you worry. What else do you need to know? Character mods and weapon mods. We'll go through this briefly because it's quite a lot of information, and it's better to ask the specific questions rather than me giving you an overview of all of them. So in this game, primary weapons have open mod slots when you get further in the game, and these mod slots allow you to change how the weapon functions. You've got orange mods, which are typically sight adjusting mods. You've got red mods, which are typically range or damage affecting mods, as well as recoil. You've got blue mods, which are typically mag related mods, so reload speed or extra mag size or extra reserve ammunition. And then you've got purple mods, which are more about equip time, equip mobility, and other kind of quirky stuff. So utility. Each weapon has a maximum of 3 slots that you can equip it into, with some exceptions. And some weapons have inbuilt mods that you cannot adjust. You cannot have 2 of the same colour mod in the gun. There are exceptions to this. There are some pre-slot weapons in this game that have 2 of the same colour mod slot. Ignore that. You can't do that. Oh, that's more advanced, Stephanie, but I guess I can show that off. You can also shoot through doors as well. But, yeah, so let me go through this quickly, Stephanie, and we'll go into that. So, for example, on this weapon, the PMG, which is an SMG, I've got Reflex Sight 3, which reduces the movement penalty for aiming whilst hip fire at the cost of making my marksmanship aim less accurate. So the bonus I get from marksmanship mode is less, but the amount of accuracy I lose while on the move while hip firing is also less. So it's better to hip fire with. This also reduces the marksmanship's zoom in by 5 degrees to make it zoom out a little bit further and it's easier to see. Cooling Jacket is your rate of fire mod. It basically makes the gun faster to fire at the cost of the accuracy blooming more. When the crosshair gets bigger, that's known as accuracy bloom. That's different from recoil, which is the physical kick of the weapon. You finally got 3-point sling 3, which reduces the time it takes to equip to the weapon. Not from, but to. So it's quicker to equip the weapon and start shooting. Very important. Right, last little tidbit of information here. These doors, in everywhere in this game, you'll see doors like this that you can kick open. If there is an enemy hiding behind it, taunting you and basically farting at you, going, "You can't hit me, na 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 na," you can. Because you can throw grenades through them. The actual hitbox of the grenade is smaller than the model itself. It's really, really small. It's just there to make sure the grenade doesn't fall through the world floor. So, for example, in the lip of the wall here, you can throw a nade anywhere through here and it will land through. The angle is pretty precise, but if you aim for the corner, it flies through. You can do it through the top as well, although this is a much harder angle. Same thing. So before you kick open the door, you can damage them by throwing a nade through the door. On very, 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 very specific angles, you can also shoot through the door as well. This is much harder. This is much harder to do, but at certain angles, if you line your character up correctly, you can shoot through the door. But it's really hard to do and it's not worth doing because it requires really specific angles and very accurate weapons. It's not really worth your time trying to learn how to do that. Throwing nades through the door is worth learning, but trying to shoot through the door is not worth it.
You need some ammo? Joker ammo! That's your Joker ammo here!
Correct. Now, doors in this game are entities, and a lot of entities in the game, not this is world geometry, bizarrely. Even though it is an entity, it's technically considered world geometry. But things like this garbage bin, these garbage bins, and doors don't have a hitbox where damage can't pass through. I mean, you can't shoot them through it, admittedly, unless you have a certain weapon. But you can nade them through it. So if I put a nade here... that's a bad nade. Yeah. I'll get on about that in a second. So
Junker ammo!
if I just plop a nade here, and I stand here, I still get hit by the nade, even though I'm technically behind cover. So that's another thing you can do. You can just get people to... you can flush people out of this type of cover by using a grenade. Right, very last thing, and I'm going to start playing missions again. So, when you interact with doors, you kick them open. This gets you put in an animation where you can't move, you can't shoot, you can't do anything. If you do this, you're going to get shot if people see you, and you will die before you can react. Here's a top tip. If you jump and press F at the same time while in range of the interaction that you can see at the bottom, right there, where it says interact door, if you jump at the same time while moving and interacting, you can get a bit of movement out of it while still opening the door. That's a bad example. But in some cases, you can also use that momentum to go through the door at the same time. So, for example, here, where there's no overhead, if you get the interaction at the very first instance to interact with this, if you jump and press F at the right instance, you will carry the momentum through. I'm going to try this, it's quite difficult. Yeah, you can jump through these gates. If you get the timing right, you can jump through the gates like that. So you can carry your momentum through without losing any momentum at all and keep pressing forward. But it's important to learn this mechanic because people will abuse you on doors if you don't. So for example here, someone could be on that corner waiting for me to kick open the door. If I just kick open it normally, I'm dead. However, if I do this, I'm in cover and I've kicked open the door and I can now re-peek. Juggle items. Do I really need to explain item juggling? I mean, it's not important. It's helpful, but it's really not that important. Let me get a medium item. It's not really. People, it's important, sure, but for a new player, it's not the most important thing they need to know. The most important thing they need to know is how the cars work and everything. Car glitching, like all this stuff is more advanced shit that you learn as you go along. I'd rather not teach all the more advanced shit straight away until someone's more comfortable with the more basic mechanics and gameplay. You know, learning how to throw grenades properly, learning how to shoot properly, learning how to use cover properly. That's more important than, hey, can I juggle an item by sprint jump pickup? Or, hey, can I fucking glitch into a car by angling it on a wall in a certain way? This'll do. Right, so we've got some medium items here, we've got a heavy item. I'm going to show the item juggle. So, when you have a medium item, you can't sprint, you can't shoot, you can't do anything, right? You can cancel it by shooting, but you can't do anything else, right? You are just stuck in a running animation, you can't sprint. However, you can preserve your momentum by, again, doing the same trick. Jump and pressing F to pick up the item, dropping it just before it lands, sprinting and jumping to pick it up again. The actual radius that you can pick up the item extends even behind you, so you can keep momentum and juggle it like so. And you can use this to kind of get over gates. So normally, this would be a bit tricky. You'd have to kick open the gate and do that. However, if you do this, you can get over it pretty quickly. Another thing is you can drop items mid-jump, which will drop them at a higher height, so you can kind of ledge them and put them on a higher ledge above your head. And some people do that when doing item hold, but you can do it with heavy items as well, but it's not as beneficial anymore. And the heavy item juggle is actually much harder to be effective with. because the heavy item juggle is only marginally faster than just walking with it, but yeah. It's about a rhythm of once a second. Slightly slower. Right, where's the heavy item? Oh, someone yoinked it. Yeah, exactly. You can item shuffle with it as well. Let me try and get a heavy item here. Okay, heavy item. Suck your mum. Right. So heavy item, you're stuck in a walking animation. Right? You can technically do the same thing, but as you see, you kind of stop midway. You still want to jump, because when you pick up a heavy item, there's a small animation where you're locked and you kind of stop moving. If you jump, you can cancel some of that time and just keep moving. This is technically faster, but only marginally. And getting the optimal range each time is kind of difficult.